artificial intelligence. It's fair to say we're currently living in the dawn of its sticky, icky birth. Or are we? Well, in order to answer that question, we first need to talk about stupid people, because we always need to talk about stupid people. Enter Reddit and Twixer, formerly known as self-diagnosed ADHD. Both are social media websites in their own right, filled to the absolute britches with politically charged dumbassery, and a larger than usual number of fake users. Spoiler alert, dead internet theory is becoming very, very real. Now, Twixer in particular is quite important here. Why? Because of a single user who goes by the name of Jimmy Apples, and a much lower than usual ceiling for believable evidence. See, old Jimble here is an apparent OpenAI leaker, and he's also quite closely following the QAnon method of sharing starkly vague but dramatically earth-shaking information. But why, legends, why? Why do he be like that? Why? Well, this is primarily done on purpose, because Jimmy knows full well his followers can and will make connections wherever they see fit. If, say, the information he provides is lacking in context, then context his followers shall hallucinate. And much like an American schoolchild in close proximity to a semi-automatic rifle, and a smaller than usual friends list, this is actually quite a dangerous but easily preventable situation. Sure, Jimmy's not necessarily hinting towards the same level of idiocy as QAnon, nor the same height of apparent conspiracy, but is he laying the groundwork for cults comprised of utter fucking idiots in the field of AI? Yes, he is. And we need to talk about it before somebody does something stupid. Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds a little harsh, and yes, I'm about to paddle a few asses. Oh, the emails I'm going to receive after saying that. Now, before going on, I need to let you in on a little secret. The internet is full of stupid people. Truly it is, and there's quite a bit of depth to it too. See, there exists a non-unnoticeable number of web surfers who genuinely cannot, and I repeat, cannot, differentiate between what information is considered reasonably rational and what information is entirely irrational. People who currently spend their entire online existences repeating various strings of words in headline order alone. This is either because they are literal 6-year-olds, and when discussing social media, this is especially true because many parents are absolutely fucking terrible at rearing kids. Or, well, they're just a bit thick. Either way, this is the reason why you'll sometimes see a comment so completely fucking smooth-brained that you're left wondering if it was actually made by a human being in the first place. Spoiler alert, it likely was. Now, you nor I are uniquely intelligent either, but we cannot gloss over the fact that there exists many individuals online with borderline handicapped levels of functional thinking. Be this down to sheer politically fueled by polarized ignorance or a lack of a simple general education. In fact, not all of these people are even undereducated, since there exist large swaths of folks who either possess mild to severe levels of mental disabilities and varying degrees of autism and Asperger's. Basically, just because somebody can't understand something, that doesn't mean they're inherently thick. But the fact does remain that they still lack an understanding, and we should probably aid them where possible. With all of this in mind, we can circle back around and see that it hints towards many forms of digital information presenting as absolute truths to many people who possess no mechanism to aid in rationalizing otherwise. Basically, 2 + 2 = 4. But you would truly be surprised how many individuals will believe 2 + 2 = 3 if they are informed as such through what they believe to be a valid source of information. And when we throw deep-rooted belief systems into the mix, coupled with extreme loneliness and untreated mental health issues, 2 + 2 can and often will equal danger. Now we've got that out of the way, let's talk about cults. As I've gone over many times in my previous videos, a large number of internet users do not understand how LLMs work, or AI in general for that matter. And as we've previously discussed, no ranting or raving on my part will ever change that. Countless web surfers also don't know the first thing about general politics or global logistics. Why is this important and how are they related? Well, let's look at QAnon for a moment. A conspiracy cult leader whose duncery spread like wildfire thanks in part to Donald Trump and buzzcut donning man-children named Chet. Basically, any politicians you don't like are either human trafficking masterminds or baby-eating cannibal Baal worshippers who just so happen to love throwing gang signs. Obviously, I don't have to go into much detail on why these concepts are dumb, because this particular horse has been beaten so hard it can't help but smile. Don't get me wrong, a high number of rich and powerful individuals are more than a little bit rapey, and they can quite literally get away with anything. But evidence is a thing, and of this there is none. Human trafficking is also very real too, but the mass eating of those traffickees, or the mass sacrifice of infants, hits quite the roadblock when you consider basic logistics and comparative cattle numbers into the mix. Sure, you could eat people, but cows are cheaper, and if rich rapists want to fiddle-diddle, they can do so from the comfort of their secluded mega mansions. So, how does all of this fit in with Jimmy Apples? Since the content Jimmy pushes very much relies on his followers interpreting his vague-ass tweets in any way topically really relevant, it's quite easy to see that there's some find-your-own connections work at play. Worse, old Jim Bussy Jambler in this situation is presented to his users as an individual in possession of privileged information. More so, he's also alluding to there being great secrets kept under lock and key behind closed doors at OpenAI. In this particular case, AGI. At this point, I reached out to Stephen Kent from the University of Alberta, an expert in religious studies and social research. Basically, the man to have at hand when discussing cults. So I asked him if followers of people like Jimmy could evolve into more traditional cults.
Well, all cult members believe that they are elites with special knowledge, so this kind of thing already is central to cultic behavior. Moreover, once they use an off-base idea as the basis for a search, then the algorithms drag them into rabbit holes. As QAnon says, do your own research, but the facts that people are directed to are way out of line.
It's interesting, isn't it? But you still don't quite get where I'm going here, do you? In fact, this likely all sounds a bit inflammatory and incendiary. To put it in simple terms, all cults possess a basic intrinsic structure. At the top, you've got privileged information or some form of earth-shattering elite secret. Beneath this, you'll usually find a charismatic, if misunderstood leader, aka Jimmy. And finally, we reach the ground layer, where we find individuals so absolutely desperate to cling to any word their dear leader says, and worse, they're led to fill in the blanks found within the information they're presented with. This is in fact just another variation on the New Age conspiracy mindset, which is do your own research. Which is all fine and dandy. In fact, I encourage it. Don't just believe something because you're told to believe it. But research is utterly pointless when you lack the ability to view research through a lens of abject rationality. And if you don't think this is dangerous, if you think I'm blowing things out of proportion, meet Bob, a Twixer tweeter, avid Reddit user, and apparent entrepreneur. I initially reached out to Bob in the hope of creating a video on just how easy it is to form cults online, especially those related to the budding field which is AI, and Bob sadly did fall for my initial hook with ease, so much so that within hours he'd already chosen to happily share my so-called elite and privileged information with his eagerly delusional followers. Basically, Bob, like many other web weeblers, simply isn't that good at processing information rationally. Now, I need to state here that after leading Bob on for just under a week, I could see that his delusions had clearly grown out of control. Thus, I revealed myself to be a fraud and explained how all of my responses had been written by GPT-4. for. Surprisingly, he took it like a champ. But Bob, my little chocolate digestives, is not alone. In fact, after scouring through over 4,000 Reddit comments found beneath various posts on Reddit's most popular AI subs, I discovered that over 37% appeared to unironically be in favor of believing that there is some kind of grand conspiracy at play. So, where are we in terms of discussing AI cults? Jimmy claims that AGI has been achieved internally at OpenAI, and again, he's not alone. Spoiler alert, it hasn't, because as I said in my last video, Jimmy possesses only passable knowledge of how LLMs work. He's a friend of somebody who does actually know their shit, and that gives him a bit of a hard-on. Still, here we are in January of 2024, and Jimmy's cult-like status has spread like a lazily formulated cancer throughout Reddit and Twitter. While researching this video, I studied a further 5,000 Reddit comments specifically discussing OpenAI and Google AI, and the uptick in delusional conspiracy-based beliefs and irrational beliefs on the subject hit just under 31%. And what would you know, many revolve around the idea that AGI exists right now. Worse, many play into a rising and dangerous trait found in the minds of perpetually online individuals. This is what I like to call the "it wouldn't surprise me" mentality. Basically, no matter the inherent absurdness of a presented claim, a rising number of individuals will accept this claim as an outright truth, since it appears to pale in comparison to the level of crazy apparent in the world they believe they currently live in. This is because many of their worldviews and current core beliefs aren't actually formed via social or environmental interactions. Instead, anything appears possible, even the most irrational of idiotic takes, when you're accustomed only to online echo chambers that present the real world as a seemingly chaotic and consistently ever-evolving political hellscape. But how exactly is this a bad thing? I mean, people have always believed in dumb stuff, and as we've previously discussed, there exist many individuals who are simply mentally disabled, and this is in no way their fault. It sure as shit isn't a bad thing either. I feel like I had to say that at some point in this video just in case some lone dipshit misconstrues what I'm saying as bigoted, and worse, begins to agree with that. Still, how is this inherently a bad thing? Won't the stupid part of humanity just remain stupid and carry on as it always has?
You know, where everything has a question mark at the end of it?
Well, yes.
With an upward inflection at the end of every sentence?
But cults are no longer what they once were, and this is hyper important to keep in mind as we move forward. The internet has fundamentally changed things for the worse in this regard. A quick search for information regarding 9/11, for example, can now lead to discovering countless seemingly legitimate rabbit holes filled to the brim with forbidden and privileged information. And worse, when these holes tend to align with our own viewpoints, especially those we deem fundamental to our existence, we're inclined to believe them. Worse, when we don't understand a subject or topic in the slightest, and we do not possess the ability to process information through a filter of grounded rationality, our belief will be almost guaranteed. People like Jimmy Apples appear innocuous on the surface, clowns doing tricks that fool only children. But within every large group of people, cults for example, there exists a dangerous few. Individuals who can and will take things too far. Hinting toward elite AI secrets has already evolved from a single Twixer user sharing false information into a commonly accepted belief system that nobody really wants to talk about. So what I'll leave you with is a question. What's next? I've been greatly affected by major surgery, and until next time, take care.